Greetings, humans, and welcome to Lead Human. I'm Tim Spengler, along with my co-host, the prolific author and futurist, Mr. Jack Myers. Hi, Jack.
Hey, Tim.
Together, we're part of the ACAST Creator Network. And each week, in about 30 minutes or so, we aim to prove that despite all of the conversation today about data, dashboards, and AI, that the real competitive advantage in business today is less about managing the machine and more about unleashing the human potential. Welcome to Lead Human. Jack, the dog days of summer, I got no problem with it. But here we are, you and I are going to do an episode with a few topics near and dear to our heart, just you and I.
Near and dear to our hearts. That's interesting. You know, these conversations that you and I have, even though we have great guests and great follow-up, we get a lot of feedback on these conversations. So I'm happy to share them with our audience.
Yeah, totally. We do like to see what's going on out there and see how it affects both people from a macro standpoint, but then also business.
Today's topics are particularly interesting, Tim, and I'm interested to hear what you have to say about them.
Yeah, and so just for the audience, you know, Jack and I basically have the topics that we know, but we have no idea what each other is going to say.
None.
So you're hearing it at the same time we are. So, all right, here's number one. So I'm going to posit this, Jack. We are now living through the great consumption reset.
Consumption reset.
Yep. We are, and as Americans, drinking less, we're eating less, we're snacking less, we're going out to dinner less. Now, there's 10% more adults 18 plus in the country than 5 years ago. So it's not shrinking population, it's a growing population. Beer and wine, volume off. QSR, volume off. Snacking, mostly off. And I'm going to say there's three reasons why. Number one, the rise in the use of GLP-1s to suppress appetite. 1 in 9 Americans, 30 million adults today are taking a GLP-1. That is the size of Texas, Jack.
Oh, wow.
Cannabis. Number two, cannabis and cannabis-like objects are replacing the buzz of alcohol to some degree. Okay, and third, the price of goods today. Fast food is not necessarily a cheaper alternative anymore. Oh, and by the way, we can't eat lettuce right now either. So what happens to the consumer economy when the American consumer wants to consume less? Jack, what do you think?
Well, Tim, I'm going to focus in on the GLP part of that conversation because I think they're usually discussed as obviously as weight loss drugs. But as you're pointing out, I think that understates what's happening when a medication can change appetite, can change body image, can change confidence, consumption, and even our relationships. You know, we're not just treating the health condition. We may be altering some of the basic forces that even shape human behavior. And to your point, Tim, what happens to advertising and entire industries when a pharmaceutical product can have such economic impact? If millions of people want less food, less alcohol, and perhaps less immediate gratification, is that a public health breakthrough, or are we also witnessing an economic disruption?
Right, not right. And here's one of the fallouts, is that there is more turnover right now in the C-suite. I'm talking CEOs and CMOs in these categories. In the food and beverage category, there is more turnover than ever before, according to Spencer Stewart. And so I'm wondering, I mean, do we blame the CMO because people want to eat less? Do we, can the CEO not make us want to drink more? Is it their fault? Because boards get itchy real quick and they think, well, we have the wrong leadership, obviously, because we're not growing. So outside of Starbucks, okay, and we've talked about Brian Niccol being my favorite CEO in the world, and he has turned that around with projections.
Last quarter had great numbers.
Right,
Big
and
surprise.
The projection going forward.
He
really
was
great.
he was almost laughed at when he came in and said he was going to make Starbucks more human, and that's really paid off for Starbucks and for him.
Right, not by me because I'm one of his fanboys. We talked about him in an earlier episode. Jersey Mike's IPOing. So it's not that there's nobody winning in the sector, but that these sectors are shrinking while the population increases. And is it right? Will we be a healthier society? I don't know. Interesting, huh?
Well, that's the essential human question: is whether changing our biology expands our potential, as we talk about our human potential, or does it substitute medication for developing discipline, for developing self-knowledge, for developing healthier environments? And obviously, perhaps it can do both. And the question I think you're asking is, how do we use the transformative technology, in this case, the medication and GLP-1, to increase human agency without allowing it to define human worth?
Yeah, that's a bigger question, and that's great.
I got a question for you, though, Tim.
Yeah.
If America loses its appetite, what happens to the all-you-can-eat buffet? Does it become the take 2 bites and ask for a box to go buffet? And will restaurants really start? I like to think about decades ago when the California cuisine came in. It was small portions,
right.
And I'm wondering if restaurants will start offering and pricing GLP-1 portions. Or will they just do that and still charge full-size prices?
All you can eat. Yeah, I remember that. I remember those days.
It'd be interesting to see how those all-you-can-eat buffets are doing. It always bothered me that they call it the sneeze bar above the glass above the buffet. It stopped me from going to those restaurants.
I hear you. Yeah, I was just doing the research surprised that 1 in 9 American adults are on one of these products now. And so, as you say, it is technology led, right? Medicine. So we talk about technology in here and humans. This is maybe a benefit from technology, which is we get healthier. I mean, we're clearly a heavier country than we were 50 years ago.
You see that when you travel sometimes in other countries. But, GLP-1s may free people from obesity, shame, and years of successful dieting. And think about how the pharmaceutical industry has funded and underwritten dieting for years and weight control for years. Mm-hmm. And now they turn around and sell you the solution. So that's kind of like what the pharmaceutical industry does. It creates the problem and then it offers you the solution. But I'm wondering if we're approaching a society in which body size becomes a marker of who has money, who has insurance, who has access to the medication. It's not cheap, GLP-1s, and it's getting less expensive, but it's still expensive. And I think it's a societal issue to understand the pharmaceutical industry. We're only one of, I think, 2 countries, I think us and New Zealand, that allow advertising for pharmaceuticals. And I've never been a big fan of generations growing up and hearing those last 10, 15, even 30 seconds of a commercial where you had everything bad it's going to do to you.
Right.
Does that make us almost immune from the concept that medications can also be harmful?
Yeah, I don't know, and we're getting a little in the deeper water here, but it is a pharma story, and it is headwinds for the food and beverage industry, and it'll be interesting to see if it is a consumption reset or if it's just a trend. And obviously, we'll be watching, and we'll talk more about it. I'm curious what everyone else thinks.
So, Tim, let's segue to a different topic. It's all right. Maybe less consequential a topic, because I'd like to talk to you about hats.
Hats.
And we've been talking about changing what the world sees of us. And, hats are also something the world sees of us.
Like a chapeau, you mean? Like a French hat? What do you mean?
I'll tell you what. How about this?
Oh, well, shit.
I'm putting on a Sundance hat.
Oh, shit.
So, it's almost
Knicks
like
in 5, baby.
the connection is there between how we look, what we put out to the world, what we say to the world through what we look like and through what we wear. And hats, interestingly enough, have become one of those ways to display our cultural identity. And, I have a Sundance Film Festival hat that I'm wearing. I have a Keith Haring Love hat that I'm putting on now. It's an art hat, the Keith Haring Love, the art that many people know. I have my hat representing the Yankees I'm putting on now. It's also a joint hat with Syracuse University, which
that's why it's not the classic
Yankee. You can see the Syracuse S. One connects me to film and creativity. One expresses a value. The others communicate loyalty, personal history. I think hats allow us to tell people who we are. But if they're the question I want to ask you, do you think hats are an authentic expression of our identity? Or are they inexpensive ways to advertise affiliations we don't necessarily have? For example, I'm wearing a Yankee hat. I'm a Yankee fan. I've been a Yankee fan my whole life. I can tell you the starting lineup from the 60s and the 90s when they won the World Series. I can talk to you about the fact that we just passed the trade deadline and, But what about people, go around the world and my guess is that people wearing Yankee hats are wearing a New York hat. They don't have that affiliation. I know you're a Knicks fan. You've got the Knicks T-shirt behind you, but all of a sudden everyone's wearing a Knicks hat. Are they real fans? Should there be some rules around what hats we choose to wear?
God, I'm gonna push back. I think that the baseball hat, not even a hat, that the baseball hat is the most important piece of clothing in the world now. It is telling people, it used to tell who you rooted for. Now it tells people who you are. It is your identity. In a world of symbols and emojis, this is the in real life emoji of you, the hat you wear. And, it's funny, you mentioned the Yankee situation, and I was expecting you to have the other Yankee hat on. A friend of mine, Seth Cohen, is telling me, of course it's right. There you go.
There I go. Now I've got the more pure Yankee symbol.
Is that one that Mickey Mantle actually wore? It looks faded enough to where it could be from the 50s. How about this? So this friend of mine, Seth Cohen, is in Madrid, and he's seen one too many Yankee hats. So he goes up to somebody, and he starts going up to people. And he says, so do you know what that hat is? And they didn't know. More than half the people didn't even know it was Yankees. They knew it was New York, and they knew it was culture.
So, Tim, do we need some truth in labeling for hats? Should every hat come with a disclosure? Actual fan, attended once, liked the logo, needed something to cover a bad hair day. No. You're asking, I think, really an important cultural question. When you wear a hat, are you expressing an authentic part of yourself? Are you aspiring to become associated with what it represents? Or are you borrowing someone else's cultural credibility? Can you wear a Sundance hat if you don't care about independent film, or a Yankee hat if you can't name a player or what the hat is?
Well, hold on. If you wear a Sundance hat, you probably care about it or want people to think you care about it. The Yankee, so I got no problem with that. The Yankee hat, you're behind something that is hip, and it's something New York. You get the NY, you just didn't know it was actually baseball, maybe. I'm fine with all of it. I just think it's funny how it's come into the culture. Let me give you another example to think about. Okay, the baseball hat worn backwards. When you and I were a kid, if you weren't the catcher or you didn't want to get a detention, You did not wear the baseball hat backwards. When did this become, I walk into the gym, that's how I roll?
I do not like that.
You're old school. I think.
When did that become the culture? Was there an athlete who did that?
Yes, thank you for setting me up. Ken Griffey Jr., MTV, and rappers. This is who brought it into the mainstream. And now you got David Zaslav at a US Open wearing that, CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, wearing a hat backwards. It's basically, I'm cool, maybe I'm approachable, I'm off duty right now. I'm wearing it backwards.
Tim, I'm going to double down on what you're saying. If you want to turn the hat around, at least have cloth or leather. Yeah. Don't have a piece of plastic back there on your forehead.
I guess you don't like.
It's a nice hat that you paid more than $7.95 for. Not to criticize those who have plastic on the back of their hats, but none of the hats I just tried on and wore for you here, they all have either plastic, they all have either leather or cloth.
Yeah, now you're getting pristine on us. I guess, so you don't like when the price sticker is sitting there either when they leave that on. I guess you got
the label underneath, the bottom of the rim often has, the label and the authentication. You see that on the hats. Yeah. Or as you're pointing out, the label coming off the side. I see that on the subway train all the time.
The hat, the baseball hat, might be the most unifying thing out there. Think about this. You could be a CEO. You could be a struggling artist. You could be a celebrity. You could be a blue collar worker. You could have a job at the airport moving bags. Everybody's wearing a hat. It might be a unifying thing now and across the country. Very good. I have a reunion dinner with my Italian cousins at my favorite restaurant, Via della Pace in the East Village last Saturday. My cousin, David Graffinino, he walks in, hands me a cooge. That means cousin in Italian slang. He doesn't know we're doing this episode. He hands me this hat. So I wear it at dinner. I think it's an interesting human dynamic. We're wearing billboards on our head. I don't know if I need to call Nick Bryan, the CEO of Outfront, or I got to call Anna Wintour to talk about it in Vogue. It's happening, dude.
That's why I love these conversations, Tim. As you're pointing out, hats, they can represent loyalty, creativity, love, place, memory, aspiration. And we talk about the human potential here on Lead Human, and it lies in consciously choosing the values, the communities that we carry into the world, that we show to the world. So I want to ask our listeners to tell us on LinkedIn or email Tim or me, or go to lead-human.com and comment, what hat do you own that tells the truest story about you? And what would you want a stranger to understand about you when they see you wearing it? So send us a note. Tell us what your favorite hat is and why you love it and what it says about you. And send us a picture of you wearing the hat. And in our next episode, maybe we'll show a bunch of our followers and fans and the hats they chose to wear.
That would be fun. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I think we're going to conclude it there. Love that you did. And if you found this episode informative at all or just fun, feel free to share it. We want to get more people exposed to what we're talking about and get their viewpoints back to us, as Jack said. So this has been another episode of Lead Human.